hands. Okay. And so, since we know Dr. Yamaka's work is so essential to our basic needs, really, if 2 minutes is nothing to wait, okay? When you're talking about a life, a person's life, 2 minutes, we can wait, okay? We can wait. Absolutely. It is very important topic. So, in the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce myself while we're waiting for Dr. Yamaka. Okay. Margaret Williams here. All right. I help women who have been marginalized elevate their voices, stop surviving power systems, and start leading with freedom, influence, and authority. And the reason why this conversation is so vital today is because our healthcare system is at stake. Okay. So obviously, the mortality crisis, that's just going to uh, compound the current problems. Okay. And as I was talking to Dr. Yamaka on our Zoom call, okay, that all of these things tie in together. Okay. So we need to have representatives at each state that we can rely on and talk to. Okay. Because each of these states have different laws which impact our healthcare system. Okay, I live here in Alaska, so the rules is different maybe than maybe in Oregon or Virginia. We need to understand what these laws are, and when these lawmakers are passing these laws, okay, we need to understand what is in them. Okay, so we need to understand on the local level, state level, federal level, all of these are things are impacting us because they taking the money straight out of our check. Yeah, right. You taking the money out of my check, and I want to know what am I paying for, and what am I supposed to be getting when I go to the doctor's office. I want to know what my payment is because every year I worked for the federal government, 39 years. Okay, they say, oh, by the way, we're going to increase the amount of money that we're taking out of your check. Hi, Dr. Yamaka.
How are
Okay,
you?
very well. This is something dear to my heart. So I didn't have any problem starting the conversation with the good
Awesome.
people here that we have here. Okay, because I told you you are the first line of defense. Okay, and when the hospital call, you can't say, "Well, I'm not feeling well" or something else. You
Yeah,
got to go. You're like
I
me.
know.
I worked for the federal government for 39 years as a civil servant for the army. So when you get that call, you don't ask any questions. You get your
Yeah,
gear and you say where I need to go. What
yeah,
airport? What airport do I have to be at?
yeah,
Okay. So that's it.
yeah,
We need zero excuses.
yeah.
Okay.
That tell me about it. Yes, I know. It takes a lot for us to, which is not always good. It's not always good. It's that sometimes I have to remind myself. I'm like, sometimes you are too sick. I've definitely I mean, I don't even want to tell people the kind of stuff we do. We do stuff that like we would never advise a patient to do. Let's just say that.
Right. You can be your own worst patient. Okay.
Well, we are that's for
Okay.
sure. We are like that unequivocally.
And I applaud you guys during not 9/11, but 9/11 as well, but also during COVID. I
Yeah,
don't know how many health professionals died as a result of trying to help people to live.
yeah. It was a really scary time. Very scary.
Yes,
Yeah,
very, very much so.
yeah,
Fortunately, at that time I was in Israel, and they came out with the vaccine first.
yeah,
So I'm like, cool,
yeah.
give it to
Well,
me, give it to me, okay?
yeah. I mean, people are still like dealing with trauma from them. It's something that I think especially now because there's such an you know um anti
Vaccine.
professionals or experts. There's a lot of backlash against physicians. I think that really kind of compounded it. After kind of that way, I finished residency when COVID hit, so that was kind of like my introduction to being a grown up doctor, like practicing on my own. So it was scary for sure.
I just want to say because I did HTRW work, which was hazardous waste work, when because we were paid by the EPA, U.S. EPA, to go into this go into this neighborhood to take out all the PCBs. So we had to go in with all the put on the level A stuff, and because we had to do all the monitoring and everything like that to make sure that when we took everything out, that we took everything out,
Mm.
because it was impacting the groundwater, everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in that neighborhood was getting cancer. And
Yeah.
so you had to figure out, why are these things happening? So the work that you do is very, very critical in so many ways. So when you get off of work and you doing this during the COVID, you had to take everything off that you had wore that day. You couldn't
Yeah.
take it home with you, because then you end up
Yeah.
giving your family
Yeah.
COVID. So you had to do all of these things, and it's just
Yeah.
remarkable. You had to do
Yeah.
all of these things in addition to what you were being asked to do, which was above and beyond what you could ever comprehend.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then all of this stuff is like a psychologist, or whatever. You have to figure out how you can remove all of this stuff from your brain, from what you've
Yeah.
seen, from you've experienced. You don't want to take
Yeah.
that home either. It
Right.
affects you mentally,
Right.
physically,
Right.
spiritually, in every way.
Right.
So I applaud the work that you do.
Oh, well, that's very kind. Yeah, but we're excited to be having this conversation. I think this is precisely the right time to be speaking about all of these issues. It's just there's so much happening, and it's how can people even keep track? There's just so much chaos, and so we're here to try to help people understand what's going on, because it's my fear is people are going to realize how bad it has gotten when they are going to a doctor, or they have an emergency, and they realize, like, there aren't obstetricians there. They need an emergency C-section, and there's nobody who can do that, right? Maybe it's a general surgeon who's going to be doing that C-section. Like, these are real things that are gonna start becoming reality for people.
What about these hospitals that have already been privatized, and how are they going to be impacted by all these changes? Are they going to be there? Because it's certain areas in Alaska, just using as an example, the
Yeah.
only way you can get in and out is through a small plane.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of those small planes. I would say maybe 10% of them are crashing on their way in and out. Whatever. I wouldn't want to be out there. I'm just saying. So what about these people? What about the people that are homeless?
Yeah.
It's for every action there's an equal and
Yeah.
opposite reaction, and that's why I be putting different things
Yeah.
out there. You're talking about catas- catastrophic things, okay? People
Yeah.
don't take these things in consideration, or do they even care? Oh, we're gonna pass this law. Okay, well, who is that gonna impact? What's the
Right.
impact gonna be?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
well, it's not
Right.
going to be my brother or my sister or my daughter, or because we have private care and we have money, so we don't have to worry about all those things, so we
Yeah.
don't give a damn. But what
Yeah.
about us? who's,
Um, a-
who's
and
looking
and that
out for
argument is
us?
is fundamentally flawed. That's just not true anymore. This is going to impact everyone. Um, I think the most, like, what I remind people is, in Texas, after what the newest data is showing, is white women are leading in maternal deaths due to lack of reproductive access. Um,
Are they
yeah,
aware of that? While they sitting back and saying, "Oh, this is okay.
Yeah.
It not only affects
Yeah.
them, it affects their children, their
Yeah.
grandchildren.
Almost a doubling. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I think it makes sense if you step back and think about it, because this is the direct reflection of policy, right? Because the issue is Black women and other women of color haven't had full reproductive access for the last like 20 years, right? And so our statistics always had that baked in, that people were had limited options, and so the impact of the fall of Roe was just, mathematically less, right? Because not everyone even had that option, but for many white women, most white women, they did. And so now you get to see like this is the policy impact. This is you had something and now you don't, and you see the direct impact, and so if
Let
you
me
step back, it makes sense, but it's still like it's still surprising, when you see that. And so I try to remind people this is not about rich or poor. I mean, unless you are so independently rich that you like have your own, like, I don't know, like set of physicians at your disposal. You go on vacation,
good
right?
for you.
Like, I mean, do you have
I
a do
haven't
you have
been
a
on
cabin
vacation.
somewhere?
I
I
haven't been on
mean, like,
vacation. I'm sorry. What's that?
do you, yeah, I know exactly. But I mean, even people who have means, right? Like the our system has operated under the assumption that almost everywhere in this country there is reasonable access to the care that you need. But
What
that's
is
just
reasonable? What is reasonable? Because that is changing too.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and it's getting worse, right?
Right. So we need a lawyer to tell us, to interpret to us what is considered reasonable and for whom is considered reasonable. Because listen to this. Are these white women, I'm not racist, but we were talking about it early. Are they sitting in these rooms with their husbands and brothers or whatever when they're hearing that women's reproductive rights are going to be compromised because of decisions they're making to get these extra profits? These profits are not going to, I mean, these changes that's going to impact their wives. They're also their daughters,
Yeah.
their granddaughters.
Yeah.
So you're sacrificing women for the sake of profits.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
yeah, it's not even profit. I mean, this is their goal though. This is like a 40-year project of of this liberal conservative movement. They want women back in the workplace. They want women to have very few options. And so a lot of these things that we are saying as negative consequences, um, they agree that these are consequences that are happening, but they see
Wait
it
a
as
minute.
positive.
Let me say something. They expect us to lay down, have
Mhm.
these kids,
Yeah.
raise the kids. You want us to go back to the workforce, then you want us to come home and cook your dinner, and then when you come home and whatever else you want, you want us to do that too. So, what else are we required to do?
So I think so
I'm
I
just saying. I'm just saying.
I call myself like an amateur historian. And so I'm really interested in I do a lot of like history reading, but never really modern history or like more modern, right? Like I read a lot about, things hundreds of years ago. But over the last 2 years, I became really interested in, just looking at what is happening, right? And so I took a really deep dive over the last like 100 years, especially on like the conservative legal movement, like that's driving all of these changes. And what do they want? Like what is it that they want? Because some of the things that are happening just seem nonsensical. It's like, who's winning? And just like, the rise of misogyny. I mean, there's just so many cultural factors. And this is, at the end, what I try to remind people, like this what we are seeing is by design. Like this, people want this. They want there are
You're right.
many, oh yeah, I mean, they say it, right?
Let,
Um,
can I tell you something? anytime you get into a position of power and you tell people to grab women by the you know what, you're giving them permission. It's okay. You can do whatever you want to them because you can grab them by the whatever, and you that's your property. They're saying they're your property. You do whatever you want with them or to them, and it's okay. That's
Yeah.
what that's saying.
Yeah. I mean, the culture of misogyny right now is out of control. Like it's something that we know misogyny exists, like racism exists,
Of
but
course.
it's in some circles on the conservative right, and people have like no idea, right? Even people who like voted for this, right? Quote unquote voted for this. They actually don't know what they voted for. That's the problem. When people
You
like
sure about that? You sure
well,
about
I think a lot of people don't, honestly. Most people, this is just my 2 cents. I don't know, but most people um, don't think that they should not have the right to vote. Right? Most women, if you surveyed most women, white, black, whatever, so they want to take away your right to vote and give it to your husband. Like that. That's a policy call.
that?
um,
Right? But
they want to
now
make working outside the home so unpleasant, like with all like this
they've done that already. That's why I quit my $130,000
yeah,
job because they made it so difficult. I walked away.
yeah, they want
Okay,
to make it more, they want to make it so you can get sexually harassed, right? Like, and there's no recourse,
we
because
do.
so that you
We
go
do
home.
get sexually harassed.
Exactly, yeah, and they want to make it worse. They
But
want
you
to
want us
make
to
this
go
worse.
back there. But you want us to go back there. Okay, the HHS, they had laid off or got rid of 20,000 workers, but then they said they wanted to bring back 12,000. There's no way you can pay me. You could offer me double the amount that you paid me. I would never walk back there.
Yeah,
I would never go back.
yeah,
All money is not good money, but I
yeah,
applaud those that go back. You go back, you think they're gonna treat you better? No, they're not.
no, no. I mean, the thing is, there's so many levels to this, and that's, I think, what is frustrating, and also leads to this level, this confusion, right? There's like mass confusion about what's actually happening, who is actually in charge, what do people actually want, and and I think that's by intention, right? Because they know no, most people wouldn't vote for this, right? Most people wouldn't intentionally vote to. I mean, because some of the things that it's so extreme. I mean, some of this is so extreme. It's like
Let me ask you, do you think it was all drafted in the Project 2025, which I'm sure it was modified into 2026, just like the Heritage Foundation? We should have people looking through this briefs and seeing how we are going to counteract all of these laws and how we're going to start at the local levels, putting in like they put in all this legislation to put this stuff to reverse all these things. We
yeah,
need to be putting in things to
yeah,
counteract that as they're
yeah.
doing
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's a
But
whole nother conversation about the incompetency of of the opposition party. Like that's part of the problem for sure. You
but
have, that's the thing, when evil forces are more organized and more disciplined,
they
right?
are,
They're
they
very
are,
disciplined, like,
they
and they're
are.
going
We see
for it.
it.
They're going for it. I mean, in every single way.
You notice when they passed the law for what you call it for gay people to 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 get married, they started putting in laws to reverse it in each state. They were introducing. Well, we need to be doing the same thing. We have smart people on our side, so we
Yeah.
need to start at the grassroots level.
Yeah, we I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question. Like, why is the left so like feels so paralyzed?
Were we
Yeah,
paralyzed during the civil rights movement? Was Harriet Tubman, was she paralyzed? Was Rosa Parks paralyzed? Look back in history, look at leaders who were successful. What are the tools they used?
yeah,
How can we implement these things? And we have social media.
yeah,
So
Well,
nothing
yeah.
is impossible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just a lot of cowardice. I think there is a lot of just unwillingness to see reality, unwillingness to um, make anyone upset, unwillingness to really take a stand. For better or for worse, there are many on the right who, they're like some of them, a lot of them are zealots, right? Like a lot of them, I mean, it's just like it's, and that just doesn't exist as much on the left at all. It just it doesn't exist in that way, and I think that makes us, at least at the like leadership level, right, at the like state, federal leadership level. I think it makes us very really ineffective, um, because people don't know what they believe. There's so much like moderation, right? There's so much like focus on being a moderate and not seeming like you're saying things that are unreasonable or excluding anyone, or there's so much focus on that, that you become really ineffective, in my opinion, right? It's just like, well, what do you believe in? Nothing, right?
Maybe we're asking the wrong questions. Okay, what? Okay, you give people too many options, and then they can't decide. So you said you just ask them, what part do you play, and what are you willing to give?
Yeah.
You don't give them no options.
Right.
Just tell them
Well,
that.
I mean, I think
I'm
some of I mean, I
saying.
think I think some of these leaders just every leader's not meant to be in times of crisis. Like, not everyone is meant to lead right now. And I mean,
Well, then we need to get them out because
we need to get them out. Oh yeah. Oh, that's for sure.
they're not
That's
gonna
for sure.
volunteer to leave.
That's for sure. We need to get them out. I mean, half of them should have retired like 10 years ago. It's just like we need a new crop of progressives, progressive leaders who are. And my other big thing is like we're the people who just want to do this for one office, just to like do what needs to get done. Like if we we need people who are just like, listen, I don't need to get reelected. I'm here to make the hard decisions because I don't want to get reelected, right? Like I'm here to just like, I'm not thinking of a career in politics. I'm here to like turn the wheel, right? Like keep us from driving off the cliff. We need more of
Maybe
those people.
maybe you are one of those champions at the local level that will champion it from there. We are writing our legacy every day.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's
Your
true.
children, grandchildren, what type of world do you want them to live in?
That's true. Yeah. No, I mean, I think about that all the time. I'm like, well, you know what? Like, I would have no problem saying no to these things. I'm sorry, I would have no problem. I would,
Yes,
and then if no one elected me again, it's just like, okay, well, whatever. I came in and did what I need to do. Um,
that
but
is. I
but
see you
that's the thing. A
doing
lot of
that.
people who want to do politics, they don't think that way, right?
Right.
And they don't, right? And the people who think that way don't want to do politics because there is a lot of um, I have some close friends who are running for office, or not close friends, but like friends in my but you have to do a lot.
It's a
You
lot.
have to do
It's
a
a
lot,
lot.
and a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that's like very distasteful.
Yeah,
It's
right.
distasteful. And it's just kind of like, I don't want to do that. And it's just like, and that's part of, it's very rare to, be able to enjoy that and also be someone who is very principled and moral, right? Because it requires you to be so flexible. And like those things are because like people like me are called difficult. Like they're not like, they're not elected because I'm just like, wait, I'm like that person in the corner. I'm like, but
You know why?
excuse
Because
me, excuse me.
you know
But
why?
that's not what you said last week.
You know why? Because you ask questions and you call people out on their shit.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you flat
exactly.
out.
And so you get like this far in a process that requires people to like basically a popularity contest, right? Because it's like, well, I just don't. And so I don't know. It's hard. I think politics are challenging. Um,
Yes.
but I'm also of the mindset like we just need to get these crazy people out of here, and then we can have by by hook or by crook. Like they need to get out of here, and then we can have endless debates about what comes next. But like we need to be aligned on like whatever comes next is not this because we won't survive this. Like women in general will not survive this. Black women won't survive this. It's going to be very, very bad.
And what people realize, what impacts the black community impacts Indians, it impacts whites, it impacts Latinos, Cuban, everybody gets impacted by things that happens to us
Yeah. Yeah.
because we are one,
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, and we need to remember that. You can turn your head and turn the other way, but it could be you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, and then who you gonna call?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. The black women are always like the canaries in the coal mines, right? The and we watched that happen for decades with the fall of road because that didn't happen overnight. I mean, that was work, decades of work. Chipping away at the right, chipping away here, chipping away there. And they bring case after case after case after case after case after case, to you know at all levels of the judiciary, right? And they put in serious dedicated money. And, at the beginning, right, it impacted who? Poor Black women, poor Hispanic women, right? Those are the people who are losing their rights. And so
Not
it
don't
just
forget
felt,
the I'm sorry. Don't forget the Indian
yeah.
I'm as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yes. I mean, they have
Okay?
the worst, health outcomes, and we don't talk about that enough,
Yes.
but by far, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Absolutely. And, but the people who and that's one of the biggest, I think, between like, I don't even like using the word feminist because it has such a connotation, but between like Black feminists and like white feminists, like there's been a lot of, disagreement in that, the issues around reproductive rights. I mean, that's why we use a different term, reproductive justice, right? It's because we were trying to show how all these things are connected, that it's not just about abortion, right? It's about all of these things. It's about your literal fundamental autonomy, and completely telling people like, over and over and over again, they're coming after a lot more than just abortion. Like that is a tip of the iceberg, right?
They're
And
probably gonna come after, I'm sorry, but interracial marriage. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, because of what's his name?
well, I
Um
mean, the 14th Amendment is in shambles. So like they have the legal stand. I mean, legally it seems
Clarence
reasonable.
Thomas. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Clarence
Yeah, I mean,
Thomas.
see, it seems like a reasonable thing you can do. Like, I mean, they have weakened all of the things, the fundamental protections that we have had, right? And that has implications on a lot of things, right? There was a recent like Supreme Court trial about like conversion therapy. That the state was essentially saying that you can't do conversion therapy, right? And I'm not a lawyer, so if people don't misquote me. I might get the law wrong, but and we know, like from a physician's perspective, we know that is incredibly harmful, right? It is. It leads to high suicide rates, high rates of depression, or high rates of just really terrible things. Um, and essentially, what the Supreme Court ruled is that to tell a therapist that they can't do conversion therapy is against their First Amendment rights. And you're just sitting there looking like, against your First Amendment rights.
What about human rights? What about human rights? Talk,
I mean, it is just so far disconnected from anything that like makes any logical sense. But it's like we know that this is harmful, and then to make it even worse, it's like you can still do conversion therapy in the pastoral sense, right? Because in that sense, it is as a like religious counseling, right? Which is different than actual therapy, medical therapy. And it's like that wasn't enough. Like you want to be able to say that you are medical therapy, and it's just like, and it just shows you how much like there are no limiting principles. Like it is about taking over all of civil society, right? Because there was no need. Like no one was actually being impacted, right? If you wanted to, traumatize your child and do conversion therapy, you could go to a pastor and get that, right? I
let
mean,
me
I don't recommend
let me
it.
yeah, let me ask you a question. When a child is going through adolescence, a child don't know what it likes. Okay, let the child develop naturally, and then the child will figure it out on their own without any pressure from you. Because that pressure, you push that child over the edge mentally, emotionally, and they never recover from that and never know what a healthy relationship looks like with a man or a woman,
Yeah.
with
I mean, we
anybody for
know
that
we know it's
matter,
very
or
harmful.
themselves, or
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
So leave the child alone and let the child develop the way it needs to. That's
Yeah.
what I say.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
And I
what
say,
is so
go ahead.
interesting though, I mean not interesting, but it almost like, saying it's Hippocratic, there's hypocrisy is kind of like it's like meaningless. But on the flip side, right? If a parent wants to if a child is, getting like is getting counseling because they have like a trans identity, or they're, like all that is now they're trying to take away that, you know what I mean? So it's like you want both ways. You want to be able to only express your First Amendment view, that you should be allowed to like, traumatize your, a gay or lesbian child. But God forbid that they're trans and they want to actually get therapy. Well, you can't do that. Then it has nothing to do with the First Amendment. That's just wrong, right? Like
You
it's
got,
just so it's like it's just there's no limiting principle.
yeah, but then then the father, he can go out with his pantyhose on at night, but okay, when everybody's asleep, but then you're going to persecute your son for wanting to do the same thing. So it's like, you know, something got to give. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
okay? Leave the
Well,
kid alone.
that's
Okay?
a deep
We,
psychological issue. Like the people who are criticizing the most, it's like,
they
well,
are the
what
ones
do
just
you?
doing that creepy stuff in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well,
Yeah.
it's what like my mom always said, like the people who don't mind their own business, that's weird, right? Because most of us just mind our own business, right? Like there's
Yeah.
things people do all the time that I don't like. You know what you do? You just say like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. Like I'm not gonna do that in my house. But you just like mind your own business. Like just keep it moving. But no,
It's
it's
just
interesting, and
people,
that's
some
why it's not
people,
controlled.
that's why people are so miserable with their own lives. They got to keep butting into other people's business. Okay, that's what's wrong with the world today. But nothing we can do to change that. You know what I'm saying?
I
Nothing
know.
we can do about that, because there's so many other things that we need to focus on, which we see right now. Okay,
Yes.
with all of these things, and then you have the concern also with long-term care. I'm not sure how involved you are with that, but that is so expensive. You can't even you can't even afford to pay your prescriptions on a monthly basis, much less worry about long-term care. But those are things that we need to worry about as we
Yeah.
get older and older.
Yeah. And for most people, for a good majority of people, that's done by Medicaid. And you know what? We got it Medicaid. So there you go. We like that's who provides care for a lot of the elderly who can't afford it. I apologize. Who can't afford it, right? Is through Medicaid. And so it's just so many. There's just so many attacks. And you know, obviously, like what we are really interested in is what is happening to women, particularly pregnant women, but not just exclusively. And you're seeing just like, just systematic, just dismantling of everything that used to protect women, is being rolled back. There's not money in the budget. Even things as you would think as, universally understood to be important, like PRAMS, right, which is our pregnancy surveillance system. That's how that there was an opioid epidemic, for example, amongst pregnant women. That's how we knew that postpartum depression rates were going up. That's how we know that Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die, right? Someone has to monitor that. Somebody has to collect that data. Well,
Where who?
that used to be that used to be the CDC, and they essentially, functionally, completely dismantled it, removing anything that is kind of associated with like basically DEI. Um, their coin, their catch-all phrase for anything that could potentially help, a non-white person. And what effectively that means is that they just have removed all demographic markers. And so we just won't know what's happening in different communities. And we know that the rates it's wildly different, right? They're not the same. And it just makes the data, meaningless and non-actionable. And
So how is that impacting research and development?
Oh, research is in the I mean, that I think, there's so many things that are happening now. It's hard to bring attention to them. But, when things calm down, because God willing, they will at some point, we're going to look back and we're going to realize that the American, which was the crown jewel of the world. Let's just be very clear. There are a lot of things we do poorly in the U.S. We do research really well, and that is demolished.
It costs money. Yeah, it costs money. And one of the things before Trump got back into his second term, maybe started on the first term, is talking about all the money that they could save by getting
Yeah,
rid of people like me that worked for the federal government for 39 years, that they felt they didn't need us because that the government was too big.
yeah,
Okay, so they stripped and got rid of all those jobs. People like us, they offered us buyouts
yeah,
to leave. And
yeah.
now
I mean,
what you're left with? What are you left with? Because you're left with these kids that
yeah,
don't know a damn thing. No
yeah,
offense.
yeah. Well, I
You,
mean, it costs money in the way that like getting your oil change costs money. Yeah, it costs money, but don't change your oil, and you're going to blow your engine. Like, I mean, you're going to end up paying way more, right? And so, yeah, they cost money, but like nothing on the order of what is going to happen. I mean, it's going to be catastrophic. Like, what do you think is going to happen? It's like, it's literally, it's so short-sighted. It is so nonsensical. We are going to
and
be paying, we're going to be paying to die,
we
right?
already
We're
paying.
paying to die,
We
right?
already paying. 637,000 Black women lost their jobs last year because they felt they were not needed. So
Yeah,
all of us are scrambling here trying to figure out, put the shattered pieces of our lives together. They didn't give us warning. They said,
yeah,
oh, by the way, we don't need you anymore.
yeah,
Okay. You've become expendable after 20, 30, 40 years. We don't
yeah.
need you anymore.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, one of the biggest projects is destroying the Black middle class, because that's central, right? Because, okay, this is how I try to put it into my brain, right? I think it's an engineer, so I try to like boil things down to the simplest parts. And so, what is it that they want, right? They want to restore the natural world order. So, what is that world order? Well, number one, women are back in the home serving their husbands. That's number one. What else? Number two, people of color, especially Black people, are back in their position in society, which is serving white people, right? Um, you know, and then number three is that white men are going to be preserved as the dominant power structure in the United States. That's it. Like that. This is what they want. And
That's the way it's been all this. That's the way it's always been. So what's changing?
Oh, I mean, yes and no, right? They're like they don't want people like me to exist, right? They don't want that to happen. Um, they don't want any of they don't want any effective avenue of escape. The fact that Obama was president, that is offensive, in a very visceral sense. That
But
is something.
a lot of white people voted for Obama.
Girl, it doesn't have to make sense. I'm just telling you what I have read in the papers. I mean, like there's contradictions literally left and right. If you first of all, you have to read this body of work with the with an open mind that does not require logic, right? You just take in information, you just say, okay, all right, that's interesting. And then you take in this little piece of it's like, you believe that too? A and B don't kind of match, but like, okay, let me just take because otherwise you can't understand this body of this worldview, right? Because let's just be very clear. The U.S., particularly white people, have become incredibly prosperous from our multi ethnic democracy, right? There is no debate about that.
So why you want to
Why are you
skip
destroying it?
DEI?
Why are you
Yeah,
destroying it? Like it makes zero sense, right? Because we're all going to be poor now. Like, and you see that, right? Like, I
not just the
mean,
black people,
yeah,
not just
exactly.
the
You see,
black
everyone's
people.
gonna be poor. Who's doing well right now? Like, I mean, how much is
I don't
you're
know.
taking a gas right now? I mean, mine listen, it's just four and change, right? Like like that impacts everybody, right?
Yes.
Who's winning? Nobody, right? Healthcare costs are going up for everyone. I went to the emergency room. I was on call. Went to the emergency room. I kid you not. I went in. I had a UTI. I didn't even see a doctor. I talked to one of my colleagues, said, listen, I'm just going to leave a urine sample. Just left a urine sample. And I got a bill. The insurance got billed. The total bill was $3,400.
What?
My portion is 1,000. I promise you. Like that. And it's just like, okay, well, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Like
No,
a
it
society like
doesn't.
that operates like that can't function. Like that's not functional. Like, I mean, like
A lot
that's
of
insane.
people, a
Yeah.
lot of people can't afford this. So me, what I would
Yeah.
be doing, I got a book. Okay, no offense. I got a book and tell you I'll get all these things in there and tell
Oh,
you
you know what I said?
you take
I
this
will never
herb and
do that again. Like I'm gonna have to be like I'm gonna have to have Pilo before I'm going back to the emergency room because that hurts. That hurts everyone. We make I am blessed, right? But that hurts a lot. I'm like to pay $1,000 just to leave a urine sample,
yeah,
like
right.
that
And then
hurts.
I'm worried. Then I'm worried about okay, well, how I'm going to get my groceries for the next 2 weeks and pay my this bill or that bill. So I'll have to decide. Okay, well, I got this book with all of these herbs, and it tell you, okay, if you get this and this, then you can take this herb. I will be taking that herb. I'll be drinking water. And certain things you know how to do. Get some cranberry juice, whatever. I get some of those
Yeah.
old time remedies, okay? And that's what we have to go back to the natural things from what the ancestors taught us, okay? I'm gonna pull out those books and start
Yeah, well, I'll definitely be
utilizing these
drinking a lot of
things,
cranberry juice because
okay?
I
See
like
what I'm
I'm never doing
saying?
that again. I mean, it's insane. My husband like showed me. He's like, huh, like you got like $1,000 bills. You know what that's about? And I couldn't even remember. I'm like $1,000 bill. Like I went to the doctor. I'm like I haven't been to the doctor in like years. And then I'm like, oh, they mean that lab like I dropped off. Okay, all right, well that happened. Well, that's the American medical system.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that's crazy.
I healed myself. I'm gonna be honest with you because I was waiting for a call for behavioral health. Okay, when I decided to retire, I was at the lowest point in my life, and I needed to talk to somebody. And I called, and they say, "What kind of insurance you got?" I said, "I got a Federal Blue Cross Blue Shield." They're like, "Oh, okay. Well, we will call you back in 30 days, and then we'll let you make an appointment." Okay. I forgot about the appointment when they called because then I started screening my calls and they called one day. I like, oh shoot, I done forgot the appointment. So I probably lost my place in line and probably have to start all over again. So in the meantime, I was just working on myself. I
Yeah.
don't need them now. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't need it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the good thing is I don't even have to go to the doctor's office no more. Okay. I can call CVS will send me a message. Okay, you need to come in and get your shingles or whatever. That way I can avoid going to the doctor and paying them a fee. So they save me some money. So whatever I can do holistically, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I shut out everything that's stressing me out, this is just not contributing to my health, overall
Yeah.
health in general. And then we leave these things out, drink plenty of water, exercise, you know, meditations, a lot of things that we can do to prevent these things, because as we get older, we're going to get mental decline, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that we can do on the front end
Yeah.
to minimize these health
Yeah.
conditions in general.
Yeah. But not everyone can do that. So I just want to, I definitely want
You're
to
right. You're
say that
right.
not everyone's capable of doing that. And that's what makes it very scary. I mean, that's what, rates of anxiety and depression, and suicide rates, homicide rates. I mean, all that, I mean, that's a reflection of a sick society, right? All those rates are going up. Cause, I, 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 I worry, where, I don't want people to there should be access to behavioral health, right? Like you should be able to go to someone when you're in crisis. Like that is,
Yeah,
um,
right.
the things that are killing women. So, these are the top three things killing women: homicide, suicide, and drug overdose. Right? I didn't say preeclampsia. I didn't say hemorrhage. I didn't say infection. I mean, those are killers of women, but they're not the highest, right? Uh,
Let me ask you.
we have
Let me ask you about domestic violence. Do you see domestic violence numbers going up?
yes, 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 yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because and it's very clear. It makes perfect sense. And then again, it's part of the architecture. It's part of the design, right? Because what traps a woman with a man, an abusive partner, right? There's nothing like a pregnancy that traps a woman in a relationship. We all know that. There's nothing more effective, right? And it's a tool that that abusive partners use. I mean, we've known that for forever, and so it should be no surprise that women that intimate partner violence is going up, especially like amongst, again, like everything that the rates of the homicide rates for Black women. I don't want to misquote it, but it's somewhere, it's high, like I want to say like 6 times. It is especially young Black women, like under I want to say like under 18, like the intimate partner I mean, it's out of control. And it's just like it's so tragic. It is incredibly tragic. You take a woman's reproductive rights, right? You take away her access to control her body, and the consequences are that and it's very clear. There's a study that just came out within the last 1 to 2 years. What are the consequences? Well, she's going to be condemned to poverty, like the bankruptcy rate are like 8 times. This is happening to poor women. Most, a good percentage of these women are under the poverty line. More likely to be in an abusive relationship and not be able to leave. And then if she does leave, the kicker is she's more likely to go to jail, right? So many of the women who are in jail right now, they are there for self-defense. They are there because they had an abusive partner. And you know what people always say, oh, stand up for yourself. Why don't you fight back? Why don't you do that? You know what happens when women fight back? They go to jail. you
Yeah.
know, they go to jail.
And
And so
and
it's just like you got people from every single direction.
and what happens to their kids? Their kids go into the system.
Kids go
And
into
then
the
they
system.
become they become a victim themselves and become a
Yeah,
perpetrator 9 times out of 10.
So it's literally you can't win. And it's like you have created a system where people cannot win. Like there's no way to go, right? Um what we like to remind people is like many of these women have families already. Like, there's this concept I would always hear, like, especially around the time that Roe fell. um the concepts like, women using abortion for like birth control or stupid things like that. I'm like who does that? Like no one does that. I mean, first of all, these procedures are painful. They're, like no one does that. Like people don't do that, right? What I do know is that I have literally had women who are having their eighth, ninth, 10th child, right? Who are begging me for an IUD or to tie their tubes and not tell their husband, right? Because they don't want to get pregnant again. Like that happens. That happens a lot. Um, that's what I hear, right? I've never met a person who uses abortion for birth control. Like I've never met that person because it doesn't make any sense, right? Like it doesn't make any sense. Like right? Like it doesn't make any sense. It's so silly. And it's like, people are really suffering. And it makes me so frustrated because it's like you're lying, because if you told the truth, people, you would not have anyone on your side, because what you want to do is cruel, and inhumane, like every other thing that they're doing, right? Like the
So,
cruelty is just so, it's like so on display.
so what do we tell our children? We tell our sons and their daughters,
Whew,
because
man,
we
that
we we we
yeah,
need to educate them.
we have to educate. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I'm actually I have two young boys, and so I am like really interested in how do you shape men in this new environment? But because like this, the level of like misogynistic content. I mean, my kids are young, so they're not like exposed to that. They're still watching like Baby Shark. But once they get older, like the level of misogynistic content, like really, really deeply misogynistic, like to the point where it's like, who are these people? Like they don't like women. I'm just like, when did that happen? When did like men just like stop liking women at all? Like they hate women. There's so many of these people who are popular. They actually really hate women. They
I
believe,
can't tell you why.
yeah. I mean, it's very, you
You know
know,
why? I'm gonna tell you why. Because we've been kept down here, and we're starting to wake up, and we're taking our power back, and we're not letting you treat us any kind of way anymore, and we're not taking the BS from you that we used to take anymore. Okay, that's why.
yeah. And I think the thing that is
Okay,
is
it's time
so,
for people to take care of themselves.
yeah,
We've been everybody's caretaker. Who's going to take care of us at the end of the day when we broke down and old, and then everybody like they're going off living their own life? So no, we have to take our power back. It's like, no, you take
yeah,
care of yourself. You cook your own dinner,
yeah,
whatever. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to have me a margarita. Okay.
yeah.
I'm
But I just
telling
want
you.
to leave before, because I know we're running short on time. I want to leave people with a couple things, right? Because
Okay. Okay.
we want people to make a plan, right? That's like our big message to people is things are not. This is not an anomaly. There's nobody who is at the wheel. Nobody is coming to save you. You have to save yourself and your community and the women that you love. And so, what does that mean very concretely? If you have reproductive age women in your life, you need to make a plan. You need to be talking to your daughters about contraception. You need to be getting access to contraception, long term contraception if you can. You need to be getting, if you're taking birth control pills, you need to be getting like 3 months supplies, right? You don't, because you don't know at what point in time, you are no longer going to have access. You need to be talking to girls about sexual violence, right? Because this is happening.
Sexual
Um,
assault.
yeah, this is happening younger and younger. We're talking about girls. They're not even teenagers, girls, right? You
Self
need to be
defense.
you need to be
Self-defense.
and you have and then you need to be talking to your boys, right? You need to be doing this proactively. And then you need to have people that you can trust, right? And you can't trust everyone, right? It might not be the person you're related to. You know those people in your family, like there's so much surveillance, right? That's happening with reproduction. Like we're starting to generate basically little applets where you can do your own like self monitoring, because people put their data in like fertility apps, or they track their ovulation, they track their periods. Well, all of that is data that someone can subpoena and they can use against you, right? And so I'm very, I am very wary of women doing that, right? Because this is what needs to happen, right? You miss a period, maybe you're pregnant, maybe you're not. But if you have a disgruntled ex who is going to use that to accuse you of having a secret abortion, well, now you have legal problems. Now you might, you know what I mean? Like, and this is happening to women, right? And so, what can you do, right? Take ownership of your data. So we're making like simple things where you can still do the tracking, do all that stuff, but the data doesn't go into our system. It stays on your phone, right? And so there's not this like way of monitoring you, because that's what these laws are doing. Like SB 8 in Texas, like they want to monitor people.
They
They are
want to put
trying.
chips. They want to put chips in our brains or whatever.
I mean, they could track women. I mean, some people probably would. They want to leave it up to your husband. If you want to track your
Where
wife,
you
it's up to your sovereign right. And but these things are happening, and so that's, if I can leave women with some thing about like what they should be doing is really starting to make plans to care for yourself and the women that you love and the women in your community, right? And if you have trusted physicians, trusted sources of information, I mean, that's why we have been working so hard to like build the Labora Collective, right? Because the information out there is very questionable. The actual integrity of the data, the recommendations, like we have now downgraded things like from the U.S. government essentially to like our level 4, right? Which is essentially unreliable, because it's not, right. And we're starting to see all these signals, right? Because we do pretty broad research, and we're starting to see like really scary signals of data coming down, especially like in areas like sexual assault, of minors, of women. Like we just like literally we can't get access to the data, right? Things that used to be there yesterday aren't there today, right? That's not normal behavior. That signs like something is happening. People do not want you, and it's like I feel paranoid telling people this, right? Like I'm usually not this like paranoid,
We
but
need to know.
we're seeing things that are, because there's like the people who are like the bozos out front doing all the whatever, like Pete Hegseth, and Trump is like literally demented. It's like a demented old man. He's like lost on the roof of the White House. I'm like, I can't believe we're like here right now.
So is Pete
But
Hegseth.
I know, but there are people who are very evil and smart. That's what I try to tell people. There are some people who are confident. They're sitting in the back and they're doing stuff. And and no, because nobody has their eyes on the, because you have like this clown
We
show out in front,
we need to. We need to. We need people like you up there because you know what to look for.
Yeah, and the things that we're seeing are scary. They're really scary. I mean, we're starting to think about alternative sources of data, like can you get, I just learned this, apparently like churches keep a lot of data, right, on communities, like
I can see that. I can
yeah,
see
I mean they
that.
do, yeah, especially in the Black community. They do use it for grants, right? Well, if the government's not going to collect data on Black maternal mortality, well, I mean,
We
maybe
need
your
the
local pastor
data.
will, like that is how we have to start thinking.
We need the data because we need it for research and development, for current and future diseases. Okay,
Mhm.
and also for case studies.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I
so
like to
it's
tell
a
people
number.
simple things like syphilis is back. Like syphilis, right? Like babies are being born with syphilis. I've treated like 2 or 3 women this year for syphilis. It's back. It's back. Like, if you don't know that, you need to know that. If you have a person who's having, unprotected sex, tell them they don't want to get syphilis, right? Like, and the thing is, the people who
Give them a
monitor
pack
that,
of
they fired them. They fired those
gi-
people.
give them a pack of condoms. People can't come to your office and get free condoms.
Oh, they can, right? But the thing is, number one, sexual education is crap, right? We don't talk to young people about sex, right? Because we have this, distorted perception that if we just don't talk about it, then they just don't do it because that works. But that's one thing. And
Really?
then
They used to give, didn't they used to give the condoms out in the school? You could go to the school and you could get condoms. Okay,
not
I
everywhere.
know that the what's his name? But Trump was trying to tell the conservatives, "Oh, we want you to start having more sex because we want you to start having more babies." They were
No,
telling them that.
not
Okay,
not
but
in a lot of
they
places.
don't
No,
tell you. They tell you they want you to have these babies, but they don't tell you how that you're gonna be able to afford them once you have them because they keep cutting all these services back.
yeah.
How you
And
gonna be able to afford
people
the
aren't
babies?
having babies. I mean, like the rates of getting your tubes tied, vasectomy. I mean, all that's going up. Like people are not, and that's the thing. What we try to emphasize to people, you can't force people to do this, right? You create. If you want people to have more babies, create an environment that's conducive to having more babies, right? But if you create an environment that's completely, topsy turvy, of course, like we're seeing things that never happened before. 20 somethings are like, I don't want to have any kids. I want a vasectomy. I want my tubes tied. Like, like young people have a completely different concept of, I mean, and so, like, I don't know, and this is what makes it kind of not make sense. Like, you see what their goal is, and then you're like, well, this is precisely the worst way of obtaining that goal. But while they're pursuing their deluded, I mean, deluded, disconnected, I mean, completely like detached from reality, ideology, the rest of us are left here to suffer and pick up the pieces.
You're
Um,
right.
and
You're right because I grew up in a narcissist family system. The Lord. I got pregnant and had one child. That was against. That was not meant for me, but I didn't have any more kids. And my daughter said, I don't want kids. And it's a
Mhm.
lot of kids that don't want kids because they came from abusive childhoods. So why would you want to bring another kid into the world? Most people that have been abused end up being abusers themselves if they don't go to therapy to work on themselves. That's just it is. It's the system is broken and it's broken so many people. And many of us are walking around trying to heal from the things that we've been through in our lives. And it's
Yeah,
ridiculous that we can't even get help when we need it the
yeah,
most.
yeah, yeah, and that's just getting worse. I
It
mean,
is.
there's a whole crop of children that were abused during COVID that we just have like turned a blind eye on.
That ain't
Um,
even including the people from the Epstein files. So, kids are always the ones at stake. So we
well,
have to
what I
protect
try
the
to tell people
children.
though is like, when things like this happen, this is a snapshot of of what happens in a society, right? When you see this stuff that's so in the almost in the open, so that means that's like the tip of the iceberg, right? There's so many kids being abused, right? Because that what we have is a culture that has essentially said that once you're 14 or so, you're not a kid anymore. You're a woman.
That's who.
Uh, A lot of people believe that. I honestly, the Epstein thing would not have happened at the. My belief is it wouldn't have happened at the rate, at the size for the scale for as long. If there was, if we as a culture operated like that these women were, that these girls were actually children. People don't believe that. I mean, you can see how people talk about it. They talk about them like they're women. They talk about these girls like that they were making like decisions about whether to be involved with this man or not, as opposed to children who are being abused. And what that is telling me is that, like, that completely reflects the numbers that we're seeing, right? Because that's why the levels of child abuse are going up, right? Because there is the same thing that makes you like basically turn a blind eye to this, is the same kind of thinking when it's happening, next door, that makes you turn a blind eye to it, right? It's the same social construct, right? This is one continuous society, and so that's what I try to emphasize to people. Like this is a symptom of a much deeper issue about I guess a disagreement. I don't even know what to call it. Like the I don't even know what to call it. Like just the just how little protection women have right now. And
Right
that
now,
extends to girls. That extends to girls.
when he said he wanted to bring back back, take us back to, back to the past, that's what he's taking us back,
Yeah,
stripping all of these
yeah.
protections and taking us back
Do
to
you know what happened in the
being
past? Like a 14-year-old girl,
being
once you get your period, you can, you know what I mean? Like that's the
yeah,
past. Like
that's
what
that's what
happens in the past.
that's what they wait for. I came on
Yeah.
at 13, so they like, oh, she's on her period now, so now she's childbearing age, so we can initiate, and humiliate and bring them to where we want them to be. So where you never have a future, it's been stripped from you.
And it sounds really twisted until you actually look at the data. And you're just like, no, there are people, a not insignificant amount of people who believe this, or at least they don't believe that these girls are not women. You know what I mean? Like maybe they won't do it, but they'll turn a blind eye to someone else doing it, right? Even like you see, like even on like the, what was it, Megan Kelly saying like, well, she's not 8. I'm like, okay. Oh,
What that's supposed to
good,
mean?
I guess. I mean, like, what kind of psycho are you? Like, okay, yeah, she's not 8, but she's also not 18, right? Like, come on, like, get out of here. Like, this is ridiculous. And it's just like, oh, that means to me, what that means is like, you were at a party and you definitely saw someone who was too young, and you were just like, she's not 8, and you said that in your brain. You're like, I guess that's fine. She's not 8. I'm just like, how do you like move your mouth to say that, right? Because if you've ever met a 14-year-old, 13-year-old, right? Like, sorry, because I deliver these women, right? I see the consequence, right? When a 13-year-old comes in with a pregnancy, and needs to be delivered, it's just like you want to be like, how did this
What happened? What
happen?
happened here?
like
Okay.
do you have a 13-year-old boyfriend, or is this a man, right? Because a lot of times it's like this very unambiguous, because this stuff happens, right? Because this is what people don't see, right? It's like, well, how did this happen? I'm like,
You know
who's the
how it
father?
happened. You know how it
Exactly, you do,
happened.
right? And it's just like, and that's the thing. And then you see the consequence of it. You see what it's like to try to shepherd a girl who's 13, 14 through a pregnancy. It is heartbreaking, right? It is
Yes,
absolutely
it
heartbreaking.
is.
And then you see
It
very
is.
much they are kids, right? Like, I mean, just things like you wouldn't even think, like they do kid things, right? They say kid things. They like, but once you're pregnant, like you're essentially emancipated as an adult, right? Because you have to be now, because you're responsible for this other child, you're responsible for another human being, right?
And
And so
you can't even be responsible for yourself.
they don't even, exactly, you can't even be responsible for yourself. I and like I just, it just I try not to, because it for me it's hard, right? Because I don't want to go into mom mode, because I am a mom, right? But I
Right.
also have to respect their
Right.
autonomy as like a physician, right? And so it's like like that, the heartbreak, but like I have to respect that this is your decision, this is, you are, for the purposes of this pregnancy, you are an adult. But it's like, how did you get into this situation? Like, who who took their eyes off the wheel, right? And so many times it is not. I don't see like, a 12-year, an equivalent 13. Sometimes you do. You see their little, 13-year-old, 14-year-old boyfriend, and then at least I'm like, okay, well, I mean, they should have supervised them more. But a lot of times these are grown men that are fathering these children. These are not kids, right? And it's like, and that doesn't that if that Epstein doesn't happen if a society does not make this permissive, right, at scale. And that's what I try to remind people is like, there are a lot of girls right now who are in situations, and this is happening to them. There's no clear way of saying that this is happening to them. And you know how we know? Because
We
they're pregnant, right? We see the evidence of it.
so that's why, Dr. Yamaka, that's why these conversations are so important, so we can get people to wake up and realize the needs, okay? Hierarchy of needs, the basic needs of all of us. So we can all rise and lift together, okay? We can't continue to work alone and do this work,
Yeah,
okay? We have to work together.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I apologize for not introducing you. I'm going to put your bio inside the article, okay, for everybody to be able to reach out to you and to connect. But this conversation has been so important and heartfelt, and I want to thank you so much for this.
Of
Thank you
course,
so
it's
much.
it's it's my it's my pleasure. And we are putting out a lot of resources to help people. But yeah, that's our takeaway message is like, you have to look out for and be very deliberate. This is not something you don't want to be figuring out what is happening when you're in the parking lot of an emergency room hemorrhaging. That's not the first time that you should have thought about, what do I do if I have an obstetrical emergency? Like, that needs to be something that if you are a reproductive age woman, if you are having sex, or if you have one in your house, right? If you have a teenager, if you have whatever, you have a young adult, right? If you have, because that could happen, and I take care of them all the time, right? I and it doesn't have to be they're doing anything quote unquote wrong, right? Married couple, saw them, last weekend. She had a miscarriage. She hemorrhaged. She syncopized. She passed out because she bled so much. She needed transfusion. She needed emergency DNC. She needed all of those things, right? And so, I mean, luckily, me and my partners were the ones that cared for her. But that typically doesn't happen with like a normal miscarriage. And so, people were questioning, like, well, how did this, and if you get into the wrong care system, well, now, people think that that was an induced abortion. It wasn't. It wasn't. She had this was a natural miscarriage, because this happens, right? And that's the thing when medical care is being determined by politicians, and people in, and the judiciary, is like, you don't understand all the ways that this happens every single day to women that right? A lot. 10 to 20% of pregnancies are going to end up in miscarriage. Some fraction of them are going to have a really severe hemorrhage, right? And now they have to go to the hospital thinking, maybe not even knowing that they're going to be under suspicion, right?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Would you suggest that people go and donate their own blood just in case you have to end up in a emergency situation?
Yeah. Well, that's probably
Okay.
really expensive. I mean, you should always donate blood. I think if you can donate blood, but to keep your own cells is actually quite expensive. If you have
What?
yeah, because you have to like crowd preserve all that stuff. Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, exactly. But the point is, you should have a plan, right? Because some women are getting turned away from hospitals who have, they're getting turned away from hospitals. Let's just say that. It doesn't matter the circumstance. To me, is like, once you're unwell, once you are, and then what they did on the legal side, and Tala is in shambles, right? This is the thing that says, if you go to a hospital, you can expect If you go to the hospital and you have a life-threatening condition, I have to give you care. I am legally obligated to give you care as a doctor. Not
Whether you
anymore.
have, okay,
Whether you have
whether you
insurance
have
or not.
insurance or not.
I have the legal responsibility to stabilize you, right? That's the thing that keeps you, because it used to happen where if you're poor, especially like big cities, like if you were poor and you went to like the private hospital, they would literally put you in a gurney and roll you next door, right? And people would die just like in route, because they didn't want to take care of you, right? Because you couldn't pay. And so how did the government try to stop that? Well, EMTALA is that, right? But the EMTALA, and it's the same thing that says if a woman is coming in with some kind of pregnancy emergency, I don't care if it was if it's a consequence of a termination. Why does that matter to me? I mean, she has an emergency, right? I'm responsible for her life. Well, now there's so many now with the abortion restrictions, like doctors is OBGYNs, yes, but also you don't always see an OBGYN at first, right? I have been in multiple EDs where they have sent women home and I'm like, nah, you need to call her back. Like, you can't just send her home like that. She's not safe, right? She's not safe, right? Her water's broken, and she's 18 weeks, like she's gonna have a catastrophic miscarriage, right? And sure enough, they miscarried in the toilet, came in, hemorrhaging, right? Like, these are, and the thing is, this happens, right? And I'm one doctor, right? I know if you take enough call, you see this. And so this is the environment that we're in. And so I just I want women to care for themselves. I want women to band together, find community, find reliable resources. We are one of many people who are trying to provide that. But find it before you have the emergency. Do not wait. Do not wait, because it is not getting better. I just want to be very clear. Even if today, by some strike of some God shine His light on us, and we just everything went back to normal. Too much has been broken already. It is broken beyond repair at this point. It is going to take about a decade to rebuild. If we started today, and we're not starting today, it's continuing to break, and so it's not going to get better right now. And we have to prepare for that future. So thank you.
I just want to mention that Lynette says give her blood to the Red Cross, the
Yeah,
American Red Cross,
yeah,
every
yeah.
eight
No, I
weeks. I
mean, you
think she
always need
said
people
every
to.
6 weeks. She said every six
Yeah, you need
weeks.
people to donate blood. I mean, because yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
This
You'll never
has
know
been
you'll need that.
I'm
So
sorry.
sorry. I can literally
No,
do this for forever, but thank you so much for having me.
it's been an honor. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I didn't open it up for actual questions. Uh, she says she's A positive. I'm not sure what the most like the majority people are A positive or whatever. I don't know.
We need all types of blood, but some people are universal donors, and so obviously we need their blood. The most, that means they're like O negative. But we need all sorts of blood, because I mean, that's a vital supply. And the other thing, just I don't want to leave to people with too many things, but things I think a lot about are like supply chains, like medical supply chains, right? There are a lot of important medications that are under threat, and again, like I am not confident that our government is paying attention, right? Or the people even exist anymore, right? They might have been fired. There might be some poor guy or girl or woman who is at home being like, we're gonna run out of cisplatin soon. And like, people are going to come for their cancer therapy and it's not going to be there because nobody is making sure, because that's what happened to the treatment for syphilis, right? It is in short supply. And that's going to be, what does that mean practically? That means people are going to die.
See, that's why these conversations are so important, to bring people, subject matter experts in like yourself, so we can be informed and make better decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you to your
And
audience.
thank you as well. And wishing you all the best. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.